Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Miranda if you're new here, and today we're going to be making my viral banana bread recipe. So I get asked all the time about what I eat for healthy snacks, and this recipe has honestly been my go-to for probably about 4 years. And the reason I love it is because it actually tastes as good as a cafe banana bread. It freezes really well, so it's perfect for meal prep, and you can change the mix-ins so you will never get bored of this. You can make it into muffins, you can make it as a banana bread loaf, and honestly, who doesn't love the smell of fresh banana bread? So I've just got all my ingredients out ready to go. We've got flour, baking powder to help it rise. We've got some sweetener. I'm just using this Napier, which is a natural sweetener. You can use a granulated or a liquid sweetener. I've also made it with maple syrup, which is great. Then I've got some yogurt, or you can use milk, some butter. My bananas that are literally on their last legs, they are pretty much black, and 2 eggs. The thing that I really struggled with the most when I first started trying to eat healthier was that all the recipes that I would try just never tasted as good as the real thing. I would try these healthier banana breads and they would just be a bit dry. They'd never taste like something from a cafe. And I think that that's where people go wrong, because it means they're not gonna be consistent with healthy eating. It just doesn't taste good. They might stick with it for a month or 2, but long term, it's just not sustainable because they don't enjoy it. And the thing that I learned over the years when I started playing around with my own recipes is that you can eat all of the things that you love. You just have to make little tips and tricks and little swaps to recipes that will make them a bit healthier, but so that you still enjoy them. And that's what's gonna help you be consistent long term. And it's what I'm gonna show you today. I promise, whether or not you're trying to eat healthier, you will love this recipe. Everyone that I've made it for absolutely loves it, and so many people have remade it and love it as well. It's on their weekly rotation for meal prep, and I hope that you guys try this. The full recipe will be in the caption below, but let's get started. Okay, I've got a large mixing bowl here, and I'm gonna start by mashing 3 very ripe bananas. Now I know these look gross, but the riper the bananas, the better, because it means they're gonna be super, super sweet without needing to add a ton of sugar. Usually this works out to be about 1 cup of overripe bananas. So you might need 2, you might need 3, just depending on the size of them. So I'm just mashing these bananas with a fork until it's fairly smooth. It doesn't need to be super smooth. Now we're gonna add in 2 eggs. I like to use whole eggs because the egg yolk adds a bit of flavor and it also keeps it extra moist. But if you want to, you can do 1 whole egg and 2 egg whites. Now I say this is my healthier banana bread because I am still using butter. So I'm not saying it's a healthy banana bread, it's healthier. And the reason I'm still doing butter is because it's going to be what keeps it tasting like it's something from a cafe, rather than being super dry and replacing it all with, say, yogurt. I'm just gonna pop this in the microwave now. You can actually use coconut oil if you like, but just be careful if you're using refined or unrefined coconut oil, because one will have quite a strong coconut flavor and the other won't. Going in with my melted butter, you just wanna let that cool slightly so it doesn't cook the eggs. Now to keep it healthier, rather than using all butter, what I'm gonna do is replace the other half of butter with either yogurt or milk. If you want it to be dairy-free, just use milk. Now, what I love about using yogurt is that it's also gonna boost the protein content. Another really great substitute for butter in baking can be applesauce or pumpkin puree or sweet potato puree. The only reason I like to stay away from those is that I find the flavor is quite overpowering, whereas yogurt pretty much has a neutral flavor. Okay, now this is the wet ingredients done. You can add a little bit of vanilla extract to this if you would like, but I'm actually gonna use a vanilla protein, which we'll see later, so that's gonna add the vanilla for me. But add a teaspoon of vanilla into your wet mixture if you'd like to do that. The thing that people always get confused about is they think that flour isn't healthy because it's high in carbs, so they might use something like almond meal or almond flour instead. And while they might be lower in carbs, they're actually a lot higher in fats, which isn't a bad thing at all. It just depends really on what your goals are. So for someone whose goal perhaps is weight loss, then using almond flour or almond meal might actually make the slice of banana bread a lot higher in calories than actually using normal flour, and this is going to yield a really nice fluffy result. I also do like using a protein flour, which is going to boost the protein content even more. And if you want it to be gluten-free, then you can just use a plain gluten-free flour. So I'm going in with 1 cup of flour. Now you can use another half a cup of flour, but instead I'm actually going to use protein powder. Again, this is just going to boost the protein content. So I'm using a vegan protein powder. I find that this is just the easiest on my stomach because I have quite a sensitive stomach and I struggle with bloating. So it's going to be kind on your digestive system. And I also find that vegan protein bakes a lot better than whey protein. Whey protein, I find it dries out a lot. So if you do use whey protein, that's totally fine. The recipe will still work, but you might just want to play around with the ratio of liquid. This is the protein that I'm using here. I'm actually going to use a banana flavor. You can use any flavor that you like. Vanilla, caramel, you could even do like a coffee flavor or chocolate flavor. They all work great, but this banana flavor is just going to complement the sweetness of those bananas perfectly. And now we're gonna go in with some sweetener. So I'm actually using this stevia, which is a plant-based sweetener. As I said before, you can use maple syrup if you like. You could use a monk fruit sweetener, a coconut sugar as well. They all work. You can pretty much play around with the sweetness level depending on how sweet you want your banana bread. I'm gonna do about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup, which I think is about 80 grams. And remember that when you mix it in, the batter is gonna be sweeter than what it will be once it's baked. So just keep that in mind. Now to make the banana bread really fluffy, we're gonna add a teaspoon of baking powder. This is just gonna help it to rise and be that really beautiful texture. This is where you can also add any extra spices that you like. Cinnamon tastes amazing with banana bread, but I'm going to keep it plain just because I've got the flavored protein powder already. So mix this all together and then we're gonna pour it into a lined baking tray, and that is literally it. You can also add mix-ins like chopped nuts, chocolate chips, or something that I do love to do is to pour half of the batter into the loaf and swirl through some peanut butter or some kind of spread, and then repeat with the remaining batter and some extra spread. It just gives such a beautiful swirl effect to the banana bread. It adds a little bit of sweetness, and it means that you just don't even need to add anything on top either. A little trick that I learned with lining my tins is to push the baking paper into the corners, and then we're gonna take it back out, and you've got these little indents where the corner of the tin has marked, and we're gonna cut into the corners, and it just helps the edges to tuck in nicely rather than to bunch up. If you want to sprinkle anything on top, you can, but this is our banana bread ready to go in the oven. I'm going to pop this in the oven at 180 degrees for about 40 to 50 minutes. Gonna let it cool, and then we will slice it. The banana bread is cooked and sliced. I'm not gonna lie, I have already had a sneaky little slice because my camera battery died and it just smelled so good, so I couldn't wait, but I'll show you how it turned out. So it made 12 slices in total. They work out to be 120 calories per slice. They are so thick, really nice and moist. As I said, you can add in any mix-ins, choc chips, nuts, whatever you like. What I like to do is to refrigerate half of it, and then the rest I will wrap up in individual slices and pop in the freezer. That way you can just grab them out as a really easy snack. If you want to have them as an on-the-go breakfast option, it's a really great idea as well, because you can just have a couple slices. You don't need to heat it up. You don't need to keep it refrigerated. It's perfect. Anyway, I hope you guys like it, and if you have any recipe requests, some of your favorite cafe style or restaurant recipes that you want me to recreate healthier versions of, leave them in the comments below and I will make them for you guys, because that is my favorite thing, to recreate healthier versions of everyone's traditionally unhealthy meals. But I hope you give this a go and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching.